Today, we are calculating how much impact your positive thoughts truly have throughout your day. And we're demonstrating with real numbers how just 5 minutes of thinking or feeling good affects and helps your ability to manifest all those things that you want the most. This is the law of attraction like you've never heard it before. Hey, it's Andrew, otherwise known as that guy who wrote the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. And if you want to check out my book, you can do so by going to andrewcap.com, where I've got all my projects, including an easy link to the book's listing on Amazon, where it's only $4 on Kindle. In this video, we are finally going to explore the very simple math behind why and how just 5 minutes of feeling good each day is more than enough to move you in the direction of manifesting what you truly want. Now, there are a lot of different directions that we can go in around this, but I want to begin by highlighting a few studies that I found over the years where essentially the researchers would take sensors and they would hook them up to people's heads and they would actually measure people's brain waves when they were thinking and feeling positively versus when they were thinking and feeling negatively. And while I have not yet found a conclusive study with one final number, all these different studies have all these different varying results that tell us that thoughts that are positive, emotions that are positive, are anywhere from hundreds to thousands of times more powerful than negative thoughts and emotions. Hundreds or thousands of times. Now, we're going to get back to that shortly, but in order to hopefully conceptualize this a little bit better, I want to think of it in this way. Imagine two runners. They're running a race. There can only be one winner. One of those runners is responsible for the positive things that you attract into your life, whereas the other runner is responsible for the negative things, the things that you don't like that you attract into your life. The positive or good runner is fueled by positive emotions and thoughts that you have throughout the day, whereas the negative or bad runner is fueled by the negative thoughts and feelings that you have. Again, in this kind of race, there is no such thing as a tie. One of these runners has to be in the lead. Now, the latest research I've done has said that we have about 45 thoughts per minute, but just for the purposes of making this a little more simple with the math that we're going to be doing, let's just say we have 60 thoughts per minute. We have one thought per second. It's either positive or it's negative. And there's an emotion behind that, which is either positive or negative. If every single thought counts as a step in favor of one of these runners, who's going to win the race based on what you are thinking and feeling all day? Well, this is where we go back to those studies that I was just telling you about, and how all these different ones, in their own final conclusions, were coming up with numbers that were saying that hundreds to thousands of times of power and impact were in favor of positive thoughts and emotions over the negative ones. Now, I want to be conservative in this example, but I also want to be fair. I don't want to oversell or undersell this kind of thing. So let's be conservative and let's just say that positive thoughts and emotions are 300 times as powerful as negative thoughts and emotions. Just 300 times. Well, this is where the math really starts to make an impact and it really starts to show you how much more powerful this is with even just 5 minutes a day of focused good feelings and focused good thoughts. Because if you have a situation where positive thoughts or emotions are 300 times as powerful as negative thoughts or emotions, well, that means if we have this example where you've got obviously 60 seconds in a minute, you've got a thought per second in favor of one of these runners. The good runner is fueled by good thoughts. The bad runner is fueled by bad thoughts. And if in this example we are thinking one thought per second, that means if you were to think negatively for the entirety of 1 minute, the entirety of 60 seconds, that would be 60 negative steps. 60 steps in favor of the negative runner, the bad runner who's attracting things that you don't want. But because in this example, we're working with the idea that positive thoughts are 300 times more powerful than negative ones, that means if you're thinking positively for the entirety of a minute, for the entirety of 60 seconds, that's 60 seconds times the power of 300, 60 steps times the power of 300, and that's 18,000 positive steps in your favor. 18,000 steps for the good runner who's getting you closer to what you actually want. You think bad for a whole minute, you're giving the bad runner 60 steps. You think good for the whole minute, you're giving the good runner 18,000 steps. 60 versus 18,000. But you know me, I don't usually recommend 1 minute a day. I recommend 5 minutes a day. So let's actually see how this compounds at 5 minutes. Well, the math tells us that 5 bad minutes of thought is 300 negative steps. Again, 60 steps per minute, 60 times 5 is 300. But 5 good minutes of thought is 300 times those 300 steps, which is 90,000 positive steps. So when we're talking about these numbers, in this kind of instance, how much time thinking negatively would be required to match the 90,000 steps we just gave the good runner? Well, again, at 1 second per step, it would take 90,000 seconds, or 1,500 minutes, or 25 hours. That's right. If positive thoughts are just 300 times as powerful as negative ones, that means it would take 25 hours of feeling bad to offset the energetic momentum that you just created with only 5 minutes of feeling good. Even if you are awake the whole time, which obviously you aren't because you have to sleep, it's still physically impossible to feel bad for 25 hours a day because you only have 24 hours to work with, which means 5 minutes per day of feeling good by this 300 to 1 metric has made feeling bad often enough to negate the good momentum virtually impossible. And again, that's just with the very conservative 300x that we're talking about. But let's be fair here. Let's be even more conservative. Let's say that rather than good thoughts are 300 times as powerful as negative ones, let's just say that they're only 100 times as powerful. Well, in that instance, if you do the math and you run the numbers, you would still need 8.3 hours of feeling bad every second with no breaks to offset the positive energetic momentum that you created with only 5 minutes of feeling good. That's more than a third of your entire day, offset by just 5 minutes of feeling good. But if we're really going to be fair here, we should also look at this in the other direction. What if positive thoughts and emotions are even more powerful than the negative ones? Because again, some of these studies have these things in the thousands. Well, at only 500x, you would still need 41.5 hours of feeling bad to offset the positive energetic momentum that you created with only 5 minutes of feeling good. That's almost 2 straight days, no breaks, no sleep, just to catch up with 5 minutes of feeling good on that first day. Imagine being that negative runner. Imagine being the bad runner trying to catch up with the good runner after that. And that's only if you felt good for 5 minutes on the first day. What if you then spent another 5 minutes feeling good on that second day? Again, then the good runner is even further out of reach from the bad runner. The force that's lining up positive things for you is even further out of reach with the force that's lining up negative things. At 1,000x the power, you would need 83 hours of feeling bad to offset that good positive energetic momentum. That's nearly 3.5 straight days of feeling bad just to match and offset 5 minutes of feeling good. At 2,000x, you would need 166 hours, which is another way of saying if positive thoughts and emotions are 2,000 times as powerful as negative ones, you would need to spend 166 hours. That's almost a full week of feeling bad with no breaks just to match and offset 5 singular minutes of feeling good. Now, the truth is, we don't know how powerful this is exactly, but none of these numbers that I gave you, big or small, are even close to being discouraging. But it goes even deeper than that because this is a momentum game. And if we're still thinking about this as one runner versus the other runner, one fueled by good thoughts versus one that's fueled by bad, well, runners get tired. They get frustrated. They get dejected. When you have 2 runners that are running a race and they both really want to win, and one of them in particular starts taking a really far or wide lead, the one behind them is going to push even harder. They're going to desperately try to catch up, and they're going to get even more and more tired, more and more drained, more and more distraught, until finally they barely have any kind of energy to offer. It all just feels pointless to them at that point. And while for the sake of it, there's always going to be a few steps here and there, in the end, anything that they do will be very small, sustained bursts that have less and less power and life to them. So think about what it means to put in the equity of just 5 minutes of thinking or feeling good every single day, and how you put that good runner so far ahead in the lead in those 5 minutes alone, regardless of whether positive thoughts and feelings are 100 times as powerful as negative ones or 2,000 times as negative ones. And this is why when something like this happens, even if you normally have really bad days, maybe 80% of your day is bad, if you've invested in those 5 minutes of feeling good that day, something's going to be happening in the background that's pushing more good into your life and more bad out of it. Until one day you wake up and then you have a day where only 70% of that day you're feeling negatively. And then another day you're going to wake up and only 60% of the day you think negatively. And then finally, you hit 45%. And it goes down and down further as more good increases for you. And all of a sudden, your default every single day, no matter what's going on, is going to lean in the positive direction. When you pick up enough steam with this kind of thing, the impact and momentum of any kind of negativity that you might encounter, it just doesn't have the same effect on you as it used to. Now, this doesn't mean that bad things are automatically not going to happen anymore. It just means that good things are going to be the more natural inclination, and your noticing and experiencing of those good things is going to be your more natural inclination. And that's the key to all this. Where your focus and where your attention naturally goes. And this here is what I like to call the math of manifestation. No matter what numbers we're picking, since all of them are technically reasonable based on the studies that have been done, we are calculating how much impact can easily be made by only a few minutes a day of thinking or feeling good, regardless of what manifesting method you're using, regardless of what put you in that good mood, regardless of whether it's because you're interacting or talking with a friend, or you're having a good memory of something, or anything else. Anything that's helping you feel good while thinking about what you have or what you want or both. Anything that's helping you feel good while just being in the moment. There's a true impact and power to this. And I just showed you that in the numbers. And with that in mind, now that you understand this, now that you understand that 5 minutes a day isn't some catchphrase, it isn't just some random advice that you should try and see what happens, there's actual math behind this. Take that knowledge, take that understanding, take that realization out into every day with you. Let it be the fuel that inspires you to keep staying on these methods, to keep staying in this habit, to keep staying on this daily routine. Because it really is that simple. And as you can see by the calculations I just offered you, numbers don't lie. Hoping this was useful for you and that you really take this perspective to heart. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time.